Hi, I'm Isaac, a third year medical student at the University of Nottingham. If you're starting medicine this September, I've got 5 solid pieces of advice that I really wish someone had shared with me when I was in your position. These have all made a huge difference in my personal medicine journey. But first, a congratulations is in order. Congrats on getting your A level results and securing your place in medicine. Balancing interviews, UCAT, and some really difficult A level subjects is not easy, so you should all be really proud of yourselves. I'm going to start with number 5 and work my way down to number 1. Number 1 is super important, so make sure you stick around till the end of the video. Number 5. Being consistent with your studying rather than cramming. Maybe in A levels and GCSEs, you could leave everything to the last few weeks and months and still perform well. But medicine is completely different. It's more like a marathon than a sprint. And to illustrate this, I've coined this term called the treadmill. I want you to imagine that medicine is a treadmill. And you've all worked really hard to be here to get onto this treadmill. Now, picture a person who's on this treadmill at a brisk walking pace, maybe the setting's around 2, 3, and they can maintain this pace. If you were to ask them about their mental health, they're doing fine. And if you were to ask them about their physical health, well, the treadmill isn't too difficult, it's not too punishing, so they're doing okay there too. Now, I want you to compare this to a person who neglects their studies, who leaves everything to the last minute, has a bit too much fun outside of their academics, and ends up having to cram. This person is now on the treadmill at a pace of 16, 17, 18 miles per hour. And they have to stay on the treadmill for 16 hours or 17 hours in the day. If you were to ask this person about their mental health, they're really struggling. And the physical health, I mean, they're on a treadmill for 16 hours a day for weeks on end. Knee pain, exhaustion, fatigue. You can imagine. What I've found works much better is just doing a little bit each day. Even just 30 minutes is better than trying to do massive cram sessions once a week. And FYI, I've seen really smart people, much smarter than myself, struggle in first year because they try to learn all of anatomy in the week before exams. It just doesn't work with the volume of content we have to cover. Now, moving on to number 4. Understand that medicine isn't harder than A levels, it's just bigger, much bigger. A levels hit you with some really complex concepts. I remember being in A level chemistry, going through nucleophiles and electrophiles, and hating every minute. But there's not too many of these complex concepts. Medicine flips this completely. The concepts aren't necessarily harder, there's just so much more of them. A levels was like running a 100-meter sprint. It's a quick burst of energy over a short distance. Medicine is like learning to maintain your pace over a marathon. And just to show this, if I look back at my notes from semester 1, we covered biochemistry, genetics, immunity, pharmacology, the nervous system, embryology, and more. And that was just semester 1. And up until this point, I'd never done that much content in that short a period of time. So you can imagine the content piles up very quickly, and you've got to be able to move on to the next topic, the next week of lectures, while fully understanding them and not forgetting the previous weeks. My advice for this is to use learning techniques that automate active recall or spaced repetition, or at least make it very seamless. You don't want to be spending time remembering what you should be revising, and instead you'd rather just be revising. This will pay off when you're at week 6 and it's time to revise week 1 so that you don't lose all the progress that you worked so hard for trying to understand week 1's topics. Moving on to number 3. Become a human being and not just a medical student. I know at the moment you're really full of enthusiasm coming into your first year of medicine, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to be so locked in, I'm going to study all the time, it's going to be great. It just doesn't work like this. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the people who study 100% of their time often perform worse than people who don't and have other things going on in their lives. University isn't just about becoming a doctor, it's about becoming the whole version of you. If you're constantly locked in your room studying, you're not developing the communication skills, leadership abilities, or emotional intelligence that makes great doctors. So with that being said, join the climbing society, play rugby, learn a martial art, do stand-up comedy, learn a language. You're never going to have this many opportunities at your new institution with the amount of societies and sports going on. So really take advantage. And these aren't distractions from medicine, they're essential preparation for it. Plus, when you're stressed about anatomy, having somewhere completely different to channel that energy is genuinely life saving for your mental health. I can't stress this enough. Moving on to number 2. Here's something I wish someone had told me. The students who are most confident about their post graduation plans, i.e., what specialty they want to go into, aren't the smartest. They're the ones who started exploring early on. The people in my year who have a genuine direction are those who went to conferences, joined medical societies, and attended workshops from early on in first year. Your medical school runs events constantly. Go to them. Even if cardiology sounds boring now, attend that cardiology society meeting. You might discover a passion for it, or at least rule it out as something you don't want to do, so there's no harm in it. If your medical school doesn't run events, which is very rare by the way, there are conferences and workshops being held up and down the country, even for really niche specialties. There's something for everyone, so take advantage. I'm not saying all of this so that you can start planning your career from now. It's more about making the idea of becoming a doctor feel real and exciting before you enter the clinical phase. Because trust me, the theory can get a bit much at times. And this is number 1. Develop your personal study system. And I'm emphasizing this because this is where most students go wrong. I remember first year going into a crowded lecture hall with all these new faces, friends, peers, and everyone was obsessing over what application they needed to use to study with. Some were saying Anki, some were saying Notion, some were saying OneNote, and people were copying their friends or exactly what their favorite medfluencer was doing on YouTube, and they were wondering why it wasn't working. Here's the issue. What works for someone else might be completely wrong for your brain, your schedule, and your learning style. Instead, I'd recommend that you treat your first few months like a lab. Test different methods. Use your mock exams and formatives as experiments. Trust me, no one cares if you fail them. Try Anki for 2 weeks. Then try handwritten notes. I've got a friend in 4th year who still uses handwritten notes. Try mind maps. The most important thing is that you tailor it to you. Don't rush this process. Medicine is a marathon. If you develop a system that works for you for the next 5 to 6 years, that will pay off dividends. You'll give yourself a massive advantage over everyone who has to keep changing their methods every term to adapt to the new content. And just remember, whatever system you choose, make sure it includes 2 non-negotiable elements: spaced repetition and active recall. These are backed by decades of evidence. And if you are to ask my personal opinion, as long as you do these 2 things and rinse and repeat, it's very unlikely that you're going to fail. Quick disclaimer here. If you already have a solid study system from A levels that you know works for you and you have the results to prove it, a lot of you are very smart. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Just make small adjustments to fit it around the volume and style of content in medicine. So those are my 5 main pieces of advice for making the most of your first year in medicine and beyond. They've definitely helped me, and I hope they'll be useful for you too. If you found this video helpful, it'd be great if you could leave it a like and maybe subscribe if you want to see more medicine related content from me. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If there are any older years watching, feel free to drop anything you think I missed, any pieces of advice that you think will help a first year. Got my LinkedIn in the description, feel free to connect, and thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you're going to do great things in medicine, and first year is going to be really fun, so just enjoy it, and peace.